Rek'Sai.
So this kind of harkens back to what you said at the top of this series about Jarvan, where they are willing to pick Jarvan, they like it so much, over a lot of these stronger solo laners. This is basically the same thing. It's like Jarvan's banned, Rek'Sai's been great this series. Give me Rek'Sai.
And it feels like both teams now have the exact blueprint that they want for how they're going to feed into each other. PVB are like, you know, we cannot take the Sejuani into Rek'Sai matchup. We cannot lose control of the jungle matchup. We're going to put priority on getting that, priority on Meliodas. Whereas on the other side, Vega Squadron like, run it back. We don't get the Rek'Sai, but we'll find something to deal with it. Let's get Ashe, let's get Tahm Kench.
Yeah, all about this lane for Vega. Looked good before, and they'll run it back here again. PVB, pretty quick selection. Switch over to Varus and Braum, so pretty aggressive 2v2. Of course, very tough always to crack Ashe, Tahm, Kench, but they're going to give it a go.
And it feels like they're trying to find, you know, laners that can have push priority, even though Galio and Lucian were forward in that lane when Meliodas got slammed by trying to take that invade. Either way, we'll see if maybe they respond better having that push priority and rotating to Meliodas when he calls for his laners to assist him.
Also, Meliodas is going to lose some jungle picks here, potentially. Irelia being the third pick here in phase 1 for Vega. Means that that's dual lane and a solo lane locked in there for Vega. So they'll take the Fiora off the board. If Boss wants to pilot Irelia again, certainly does not want to run back into the Fiora.
And this is pretty clear from both teams. This is a AHaHaCiK versus Meliodas. Meliodas trying to pinch that pool. Something that can deal with Rek'Sai, especially in the early levels, is something like Kindred. It's a bit more of a niche pick, so maybe you still ban out the likes of, you know, like the Sejuanis, the Skarners, the Lee Sins, these types of picks. Probably not Lee Sin, because Rek'Sai is a good matchup into it, but like Skarner and Sejuani. Or maybe you take a gamble that they'll pull out the Kindred, you take that one away.
Here's one Kindred game for AHaHaCiK this tournament, so certainly capable of playing. Actually had a ton of unique picks in the playing group stage, but Gragas is a selection, so wanting to take the tanks away here.
That would be interesting.
That would be.
I'm just getting more excited. Okay, so something...
Oh, wow!
Okay, so something you need to know about the CIS region is that they have a really high priority on Vi because Diamond Prox is in the region, and it just feels like the LCL is determined by a lot of their key star, like these legacy names that will bring in these picks, and they basically just shape the meta. So this is not, you know, like a hat trick that they pull out in the play-in stage in like a very intense best of 5. This is actually something that's very common for the CIS region.
Well, Vi, not the jungle we expected, but what AHaHaCiK will get here for this game 4. Akali left unbanned though. We'll go over and see if Zeros has a better time in his matchup, or if Naul wants to take it. Depends how they want to flex these picks around. But also LeBlanc banned there by Vegas, so Naul lost that as a potential pick. There's maybe something like Zoe, but can be tough to blind.
I kind of feel like it might be an Azir. Maybe the Ori. Okay, so it's the same concept though. I was like, I feel like Naul learned that if he loses the push priority there by just getting shoved in constantly by the likes of the Orianna, that it was really impacting his jungler negatively. So I expected something like an Azir that would contest with that wave clear, but he himself kind of getting the buy one get one free. I get a wave priority champion as well as I take that pick away from Nomanz.
Yeah, he had the rise up, but it looks like it might just drop through this draft actually.
The Nomanz special. So we're getting CIS comfort right now. We get the Vi, which is a mainstay in CIS, and we're also getting Corki, which is Nomanz's special pick. He likes to pick this blind. He'll pick it into so many different matchups. This is like his go-to champion.
Well, if there's ever a time for it, it's trying to push your team to a game 5 and one game closer to qualifying into MSI groups.
Now, the thing that I want to focus in with Vi is that she does have a rather binary play pattern, because it's pretty clear what a Vi wants to do, and once she's in, there's no ticket out. She's only going forward, so we need to make sure that Vega Squadron are able to get their laners ahead, that they can follow AHaHaCiK when he decides to dive in with this Vi.
So it feels like, again, you know, teams have played a few games, have, I think, figured each other out in some ways. I mean, these picks are surprising from Vega if you're not familiar with the team and the region, so perhaps some of this is unexpected here for PVB, but if they've done their homework like you have, clearly I think these are picks you can expect. So it does feel like the teams have finally said, okay, you know what? We need to match at about the same spot and just see what happens in the early game. I think Vega have learned to not overextend and to play a bit slower, and I think PVB have learned to play maybe not so recklessly.
And it can be one of those situations where even just having some of these strange picks like Vi, especially if you're not ready for it, or even if you know that it's coming, can catch you off guard, because you're thinking, you know, how many experiences do I have knowing how much damage Vi is going to put out, knowing how much burst that she has capable on her kit.
I mean, with how global of a game League of Legends is, it's actually quite rare to find picks that are, you know, really specific to one region. It certainly does happen. There's plenty of competitive leagues around the world. But I mean, even if you know to expect the Vi, the chances of you playing against it when it's a regional specialty, very unlikely.
Here we go, game 4, it's all on the line. Are we gonna get Silver Scrapes? Are we gonna get game number 5? And is Vi going to be the thing that takes us there?
Well, that would be, I think, a very fitting way for Vega to push themselves to that 5th game. And PVB aren't interested in that narrative at all. They're looking to they wanted to seal it up last game. They couldn't do it. So refocus, reset, and push themselves to a solid game 4. That's what them and the home crowd are hoping, at least.
And we said it before, and we're gonna say it again. It feels like the teams know it, we know it, the audience surely knows it. Everything is determined by the junglers in this matchup so far. We've seen a couple bad looks and a couple good looks from both of them. I feel like AHaHaCiK, especially in the last 2 games, has kind of been stepping over Meliodas. So all eyes on how he's going to continue to try to exploit that with this pit, or if Meliodas is going to kind of return to form and start getting off these crazy ganks that we know him for.
And again, between watching the pathing and the lane priority, there'll be a lot to look for here in that first 5 minutes. Right now, we can see all 10 champions just spread across the neutral zone of the Rift. Doesn't look like too many wards are going down. Naul maybe going to rotate over, but just going to ward that brush there for the scuttle. And I think, again, for both these teams, take a deep breath. Just try and play this game out, and I'm expecting things to slow down a little bit, at least in the early game.
Although, we do have an Infernal Drake, so...
All right, maybe not that much.
I'm ready to speed it all up. It's not going to be a leash, but it is going to be a bottom start from Meliodas. Again, watch this for Palette and BigKoro. If this team goes to the main stage, they love doing stuff like this, of making sure that they get priority towards the lane, that they can play aggressive. And so even when Meliodas does start on their side of the map, they almost never assist him or never leash for him.
He's going red into Krug, and AHaHaCiK is red over the wall straight to top lane.
Welcome to CIS.
Has the queue up in 2 seconds.
Enjoy your stay.
In he goes. Xerath only level 1. Does have the flash. Probably going to have to use it pretty quickly here. Does use it.
And of course, one of the cool things about Vi is, like Nidalee, she's one of the few junglers that can look for gank paths like that, because you can go or have access to go over the walls such early on. And it just makes pathing and kind of the speed to which you can get these early ganks off really impressive.
And then unlike Nidalee, actually it's CC when she goes in. Albeit, it's kind of tough to hit before your ultimate, but still a very aggressive path. He takes the Scuttle Crab. He's actually going to force the map vertically now as he moves towards the blue buff.
So we talked about the vertical jungling previously. You can now see it in effect this time around, as it feels like both junglers are just going to trade their blue buffs. And that's simply because Boss has now helped in burning Xerath's flash, and they want to get Boss ahead. It seems like AHaHaCiK is like, it's fine, I can take over this. There's no reason for Meliodas to be here. You can be aggressive and try to punish this Akali. And since we have Tahm, Kench, and Ashe, they should be safe enough to play with the added pressure of Rek'Sai peeking around down here.
They're actually going for a dive. Meliodas waits for the wave. Now going to try and go in onto the Tahm Kench. You have to think TP in from Vega, going to try and defend here. So Phong Vũ Buffalo will back off, but that's Boss committed. He looks just on BigKoro. Good flash there. It does have to use the summoner to get out.
I mean, the silver lining here is that Boss doesn't lose a ton by making this TP. You know, he TP'd from the aggressive position up into the top lane. That was actually a really cheeky Prey Seeker there, trying to cancel the back. That would have been actually big brain for Meliodas if that worked.
Fortunately, not quite in range, as AHaHaCiK is back ready to try and queue somebody. But Naul just going to walk away, as Meliodas can't really decide where he wants to go here. I mean, he had opportunity to maybe take a buff away, instead chose to gank. So if AHaHaCiK goes for this blue and gets it, again, AHaHaCiK will 3-buff his jungle opponent.
And this just feels like... I'm very curious what happens in comms for PVB, because it just feels like the louder voice is winning out. The fact that Meliodas has the opportunity to go to vertical jungling, and he tries to break it or force ganks both times, and then it just ends up really punishing him is kind of a head scratcher right there. The fact that you're trying to force a dive at level 3 against people who have cleanse, who have 2 flashes, one of them is a Tahm Kench, and you're not accounting for an aggressive TP. Like, yeah, it's nice to get the TP off of Boss. Maybe that helps Xerath out in the long run, but I don't know. That could have gone very sideways for PVB.
Yeah, I'm just a little confused, to be honest. But if we think about the jungle matchup and how integral it's been, I believe that's our 4th 3-buff in a row. And fun fact, the jungler that has gotten the 3-buff has won every time. So if you're a Vega fan, good news.
I love fun facts. As we're probably...
Trevor's not here yet. I have to do something.
No quick stats.
Oh, don't worry. I'm not going there. Vault Breaker coming in. Look at a BigKoro. Fights Palette instead. They'll take it. No first blood this time for Gadget, but at least gets the damage down.
Again, just trying to create clever gank pathing by using the ability to go over walls is, he's not done here. Maybe he is.
You never know which way it is. But AHaHaCiK just takes the control ward. Doesn't want to go too crazy onto Meliodas.
The thing
despite
is,
having a level lead.
I can't get a read for these players and their aggression. I'm like, he shouldn't do that, but I think he really wants it.
Naul doing work here up against Nomanz. Doesn't have Ignite, but he's going to just force the Valkyrie away. Of course, with both having Flash, not really likely to get a kill, but Orianna continuing to show power here in the matchup.
Hold up.
Boss is proxying. Zero slowed back towards the tower. He's struggling a little here. After getting that flash burn, Boss is actually up almost 10 CS.
I want to say he's struggling a lot here. That's a big CS difference, and even more importantly, the fact that Boss is able to play so aggressive and so far forward that he's actually going to get away with not needing his TP for a free back to match Akali's TP. He can force that lane in and then just take a free back and walk.
Oh, he's level 6. Vanguard's Edge will connect, but in the Shroud still. Zero's going to have to pop out soon, but Boss doesn't want to dive here in the bot lane. Looking for a BigKoro. They do find it there with the knockup. Damage is there, and Gadget again will grab first blood.
And it's finally working out for Vega Squadron to pay attention to this bot lane. And Meliodas just looks completely lost on this map right now.
And AHaHaCiK certainly getting the better of. Oh my goodness, PVB. This reeks of desperation. BigKoro and Pallet both down, and they get nothing.
I mean, at the same time, it's an unsealed spellbook Braum, so I agree with you. Maybe if that was like the top laner and the mid laner that showed up, you're like, oh no, not this. But because it was the bot lane just trying to trade around, I do like the change up of tempo here, going from defense back onto offense and being like, okay, we have a buy advantage, we had a TP, let's try to force Infernal, but it's being matched here by Vega.
Yeah, Sand is also with the unsealed spellbook, so is Naul, by the way, but we'll talk about that later. Meliodas looking for Nomanz, flashes in, Pallet gonna have to try and protect him.
Naul's got no mana.
Yeah, and Meliodas has got no health, so I'm not sure that PVB can do too much here.
Yeah, I think that means that PVB have no chance. We'll see if Vega Squadron are respectful. It looks like it. Ashe, not sitting on a lot of items, has like some biscuits and a Doran shield to her name, so probably wants to take that back.
And Gadget does not have TP, notably, so doesn't have the same luxury, and teams will just walk away slowly from the Infernal Drake. Meliodas trying to finish off the Raptor camp. Should be just fine here.
I feel like I was faked out by the observers right there. I was like, he's really low. He's on the Raptor camp. Is he going to die?
What do they know that I don't? Well, nothing right now.
He's okay.
And AHaHaCiK, and actually both junglers getting quite a bit closer to level 6. That, of course, changes the equation considerably for both of them. But do have to tip the hat again to AHaHaCiK, who seems to be maybe getting in the head of his opponent a little bit. Certainly feels like he's gotten the read on the situation, is only playing better as the games have dragged on.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the mental fortitude coming out of Vega Squadron so far. Like, people watched the first 2 games, and I'm sure a lot of people turned it off. They're like, this is over, there's no comeback here. But to settle yourself, especially when you're against the hometown heroes of the Vietnamese squad, can be no easy task. So, already in Game 4, I'm actually really impressed with Vega Squadron.
Yeah, I was kind of with the crowd, and it just seemed like it was all over after the first 2, but...
You're ready to write the obituary?
Yeah, thankfully didn't pick up my pen, because would have been very wrong in that case. Vega's still fighting strong. They have a small lead of about a few hundred gold, but as I think somewhat expected, this game is playing out pretty conservatively between the 2 teams. I think Vega can start to realize that, okay, we can win this series, so we don't want to throw it away with some reckless play. And I think Phong Vũ Buffalo, if they didn't realize that already, really setting in the gravity of the situation. Like, this is a team that, you know, in a region that wants to prove themselves on a big stage, and they're playing at home. The pressure's certainly mounting for Phong Vũ Buffalo.
And so now it's where do Vega Squadron attack the map now that they've unlocked something like a Vi ultimate. Gadget level 5 right now, there's the possibility that you wait for the level 6 Ashe Arrow and you try to stack ultimates, or maybe you play around a package window.
Well, right now, PVB getting their push on, but Gadget and Sanders will tank this up. Again, we still have that Infernal to talk about. Hasn't been taken, and we're almost at 10 minutes.
I have a feeling that's what we're going to see both these key ultimates used for.
Meliodas going to knock up the Crab, and maybe a catch. Oh, good juke around, but still tagged by the Q. There's the Braum ulti as well. Very well played by Pallet. And AHaHaCiK maybe forfeit, but Santa's there for the Devour. Here comes Vega. Pallet now the target. Boss flashes in, finds the ulti on a BigKoro, will get the flash, finds the stun. Immaculately played by Vega.
They just destroy and wipe PVB off the face of that dragon. They then turn to the Infernal, and unless Meliodas can look for a steal here, doesn't have access to the flash, I think they have to give it away.
Where was this team 2 games ago? Looking, like, honestly completely different. They'll get the Infernal. Zeros, yes, he will get some turret plates there in top lane, but 1,000 gold up, starting to, again, pack that snowball together.
And, you know, credit to AHaHaCiK because he eats up a lot of time here, able to dodge out the Varus ultimate. Yes, he's tagged by the Braum ultimate, but kind of bicycles the animation of the stun there by immediately locking onto a Vi ultimate. Yeah, so he basically comes out of the air from the Braum ult directly into Vi ultimate, so not a lot of time wasted.
And of course, Santa's there, ready with the save. And Boss with a beautifully aimed Vanguard's Edge. Gives Vega their 3rd kill of this game. I mean, AHaHaCiK also back down here. Gonna try and pressure for some plates. No ulti back yet for the Vi, but it's not that far away.
I also think, you know, he can set up the gank. He doesn't have a lot of the key ultimates up. They are just about to come up. Or if Santas and Gadget want to play aggressive, he's there.
Yep, being patient again, setting up the tent. Not a bad day for camping on Summoner's Rift, and AHaHaCiK starting to show a ton of attention here. No luck on that attempt, unfortunately, for him.
What is Meliodas going to do with the information now? So AHaHaCiK, he's like, I've been spotted. I'm now teaming up with the Tahm Kench. We suspect that they're going top lane. And look at the response from Vega. Immediately, Nomanz pivots towards the top lane to protect or to scout anything out. They place vision on the Rift Herald and they say, okay, we've revealed our jungler. We have Meliodas figured out. He's going to try to trade something across map.
Zeros here. Up a little bit in gold, I think, thanks to the turret plates that he's gotten after Boss's TP. But, I mean, still even on CS. Irelia's doing just fine there in the 1v1. In general, actually, CS is very close. Bot lane may be the exception. BigKoro was up 20 at one point, but that's been halved down to 10 or so. As Gadget will move in to clean up the rest of the wave that's being pushed in. And again, kind of keeping the more reserved pace indicates really the significance, the weight of this game for these two teams. Ulti down the bottom side, PVB may have found an opportunity. Gadget will be forced to flash away. BigKoro wants it, he's gonna chase in and he does grab the kill. Oh, with the trade though, the tower does too much.
But the thing is that the wave is still pushing in, so still an advantage for PVB, but across map, it's Vega Squadron that are starting up the Rift Herald.
Yep, again, playing to where their strength is right now. Boss feeling confident, and AHaHaCiK the same. And they've pulled Santa's up as well. So Zeros gonna have to be careful here.
Careful as he walks into the pit.
Yep, straight in, looks for the stun, finds it. 2v3 into the Shroud right now. Zeros can get out with his ultimate here, but they actually want to try and commit for a kill. Zeros looks for Boss. They TP in as well. Boss is going to look to go down. The ulti is enough. BigKoro actually comes in with a TP and finds a snipe. Now Naul already found the shockwave. Will flash after Nomanz, who follows.
So Vega Squadron did manage to get the Rift Herald out. It's now placed on AHaHaCiK, but TP play from BigKoro, as you're talking about, comes back from the grave, immediately participates in the fight to clean up on the back half, and it looks like we've got a lane swap, possibly into a dive as Varus is top, but everyone else is looking mid.
Nomanz just used the flash, does have the Valkyrie though. So here's AHaHaCiK now gonna look for a snipe. Meliodas completely caught out of position. Can't run out of that ulti. Gonna have to keep running in towards his teammates. Pallet here to maybe try and save the day. No, is enough to ward off the rest of Vega as Gadget forces Zeros' flash.
And he did that without the Ashe ultimate. Look, it's still on cooldown for Gadget, so really curious how that one happened.
Later the Ruin King, apparently enough in the 1v1. As BigKoro and Pallet trying to collect some plate gold. There's a lot of movement on this map as the teams try and match each other. You can tell that both teams really want to break this game open for themselves, but so far all this fighting has really resulted in something that's mostly even. However, this Rift Tower is probably going to change that.
Just feels like much cleaner macro rotations this time around from Vega, however. I love the fact that all of those plates ended up in Noman's back pocket. I think it means so much more for the likes of a Corki versus that Heimerdinger we were talking about a couple of games ago.
You can also see that PVB trying to collapse where they believe they have opportunity. Every little play that fails, that wastes a bit of time, does keep the gold ticking up for Vega here. Still only 1,000 golds up for the CIS, but trying to continue to defend here as AHaHaCiK will join Boston. BigKoro and Pallet know there's no reason to stay around.
Yeah, and there was a trap being set up. You can see further down the lane that Santas and Gadget were waiting in the wings for that Abyssal Voyage. So seeing if BigKoro and Pallet would kind of test that 2v2 on the top side, maybe to get ganked, but it's now used to just continue the macro rotations from Vega Squadron, making sure that they're eating up every available resource of gold.
I mean, you want to talk about globals? Oh, actually, hold that thought. Sanchez going to get knocked up here. Gadget also getting tagged. But BigKoro can't really get it done. Oh, he does find the snipe. The Grey Health was not turned on. Now exhaust on the Gadget. Zeros here looking for a dive. He's ready with the ulti, but here comes Nomanz in the mid for Naul. That damage might be enough. Valkyrie forward. What a great shutdown 1v1 kill as Zeros also finds his mark in top lane.
So the mid lane's going well for Vega Squadron, but finally Pallet and BigKoro managed to get their hands onto Gadget and Santos and break the 2v2 up into the top side. But because it leads into a tower, it feels like it means more. Vega Squadron need to follow up on that Rift Herald mid lane and break that structure.
Well, they will get themselves a Cloud Drake at least, so he's trading on the opposite side of the map for now, but this is going to be a fun one, no matter who wins. And this very well may go to 5, because you can just tell that these teams are kind of done playing. They've figured each other out, they've had enough time to kind of feel out what the other team wants to do, and now it feels like they're starting to meet very close together as far as their execution and skill goes.
And I'm glad that we're finally seeing Vega Squadron kind of go back to comfort and go back what works for them. You know, as a famous, handsome man once said, play your style. And that's what Vega Squadron needed to do. And it wasn't always about the cheese picks. It was about these comfort picks like the Corki.
Santos had the cleanse, but that was not enough to save him here.
Yeah, I do like the snipe, however. You can see it looked like delayed on the Grey Health. Wasn't really expecting that one. But this is what PVB want. They want the skirmish. It feels like they're relying a bit too much on winning fights before transitioning them to objectives, where Vega Squadron feels much more like they're setting up objectives, and it's not about the fight itself. If a fight happens afterwards, that's nice, but it's about the dragon. It's about the tower.
I actually think it's a great representation of these two teams' different styles. You know, PVB fight first, then take the thing. Vega, you know, a bit slower, you know, fight for the thing, or set up for the thing, take it, but if it doesn't happen, maybe look for an opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a fact that if the fight ensues, then it's just kind of a cherry on top, because you usually have the confidence to take the objective if you're walking over to it, that you can take the fight. Personally, I prefer a style like Vega's a little bit more, but you can never discount just the raw aggression that PVB can catch you off guard.
Neither are wrong, I think is fair to say. PVB continuing their streak of aggression. They take the turret. Zeros charges in, looks for Gadget, does find the execution. And now the stun in gets another kill. PVB starting to heat up Froskurinn.
But here comes Irelia very deep into the back line.
Vanguard Zed lining up. Good ult there from AHaHaCiK with the flash out as Vanguard Zed finds 3. Shockwave though is really good, but AHaHaCiK does find the shutdown. It's 2 kills for Corki on top of it all. Shockwave is not enough to save Naul and co.
And in the end though, Vega Squadron come out on top. That is one member from PVB that just kind of limps away from the team fight right there. And yeah, they lost the tower, but they've got the minion wave behind them and they're pushing it back down.
So Vega, good response. Oh, Pallet. Maybe a little too far forward, but does get back towards the safety of the turret. And I wonder if this is kind of a sign of PVB, you know, getting too eager too swiftly.
It's, again, it feels like they're not there for the mid lane tower, even though that was the primary objective, but they really wanted to dive. Like, if they stay, someone in the comms is saying, go for the dive, go for the dive. If they stay, we can dive them. And they just don't account for the kind of the retaliation that Vega Squadron are able to output with their champions.
There's a good TP in from Boss. As I was looking at it earlier, although again, hold that thought. Every time I want to talk about globals, Naul flushing out of the way as AHaHaCiK camps the brush, but it's 2 from PvP up here already, and AHaHaCiK out of there. Nomanz maybe not so lucky. They'll dive a little bit, and that's goodbye. Shutdown over to Naul.
That moment when you realize top first tower is still available.
Okay, well, AHaHaCiK gets out of the way, and it is one of those things where there are so many teleports in this game that both teams, I feel like, the same thing has happened. When we don't bring enough people to the fight, we lose. We don't want to lose fights. So we're going to try and make sure we have as many people there as often as possible. And that means multi-teleports plus spellbooks across many different champions in this game.
I mean, that was the thing. There was like 3 spellbooks in this game. And maybe the TPs have exhausted themselves a little bit, at least for some of these members. But
including spellbooks, there are 7 TPs available in this game. But as you said, it seems like some of them not available for a little while. And we'll definitely be interested to see if this game goes longer than our first 3 have gone. They have been quite short.
This is
how the teams can use those.
One team fight away from a Baron into what feels like a collapse. And you can tell that both teams are confident making hunting plays like that.
Nice ult there from BigKoro, well aimed, but Santos had the cleanse, so Nothing to write home about after all that. Cloud Drake back up in a minute. Vega do have the first two. But Baron for the first time up in 10 seconds as well.
And I do want to note that Vega have what I feel like is a map advantage in terms of how they want to play their win conditions. It feels like PVB are much more reliant on playing a 1-4 or playing grouped up with their composition for it to really work. Whereas Vega Squadron, I feel like, have more options to play these side lanes because Corki is so strong and because Irelia and Vi are also in really nice places.
Again, if we talk about the formula we saw last game, certainly still enacted here for Vega. And AHaHaCiK had another good start. Nomanz is kind of the recipient of all his hard work. And on a signature pick for him like Corki, already with the Triforce and the eye edge done. Those are really the two tough humps for Corki to get over because they're so expensive.
The most expensive build path.
But once you're there, things only start to get better for Corki, who scales exceptionally well.
This is a Cloud Dragon that's spawning, so if Vega feel like their vision has been exhausted from this area and they don't want to face check into it, there's no reason they can actually just let this one go. If they contest for the Cloud, to me, it says that Vega are feeling so confident that they want the team fight more than the objective, so they can quickly swing to Baron.
Well, we're going to move into the area, and Xerath actually went to the bot lane, so he does have TP, but will not really be here in time for this Drake. In fact, there's the arrow out, and AHaHaCiK finds the ulti on the BigKoro. They've got no way to really save him, but a good shockwave may be enough here. Buff's going to try and dive in, but Nomanz straight in there with the package, moves into the backline, and that's actual demolition from Vega Squadron. That's the ace.
And PVB have just been wiped off the face of this map right now. It's only one member left for Vega, and they're marching towards that Baron. Like I said, it wasn't about the Cloud Dragon, it was about the fight. It was about the Baron.
And the fight they found, Nomanz even leaving the area to get the turret started early. He's seen the party in that Nexus. He wants to go straight there.
And the momentum is now behind Vega Squadron. They have learned that they can do this. They managed to win that uphill mental climb over PVB being 2 games up on them. And not just 2 games, but a smashing performance from them.
At this rate, it would feel... trying to think. It just feels like we're going to Game 5. I'll put it that way. With the way Vega are playing, how confidently they approach this team fight, I would be shocked if we didn't go the distance here.
And this team fight is really kicked off by how many engage tools that Vega Squadron have. The fact that they can throw the Ashe arrow and then very quickly follow it up with the Vi ultimate. You had a gorgeous Valkyrie there from Nomanz to follow his Irelia into the backline. Just ripped PVB apart.
Upgraded by the jetpack as well, and the thing I missed was that Naul TP'd in the middle of that fight. He had Spellbook swapped to exhaust, and I have to assume he was trying to press the exhaust button, which might have done something on the back half of that fight, but didn't even get that done, and Nomanz cleaned house there.
You cast your mind back to that TL series, it was also Naul that was making very uncharacteristic mechanical mistakes, you know, messing up his flash over the wall or not comboing correctly. And so another maneuver like that, you have to think maybe something's getting in his head, something's messing with him.
I think the pressure is starting to get to Phong Vũ a little. We've seen, some failed flashes last game from them. See that mistake there from Naul in the middle of that team fight. I mean, there's just so much pressure in this game. Best of 5 series are always grueling, and if you have to play one more game, given the momentum that Vega have shown you throughout this series, well, this catch would be good. Nomad's going to be the target. That's a shutdown for BigKoro. There may be signs of life yet.
But that said, that's still a lot of Barons alive on Vega Squadron. Another tower that's going to fall. And Nomanz should be able to walk out, just shake that one off. Still sitting 6-2 on this Corki. Very fat and happy.
Won't be happy to give over the gold, but certainly, already 3 items. We were talking about his 2-item spike a few minutes ago. Now he's already at 3.5.
It only gets better from here.
PVB, though, need to stay strong. Minute 30 for Vega left on the Baron buff, but a pick onto Nomanz probably calls off the rest of the siege, so it's unlikely Phong Vũ Buffalo will lose too much more, at least while the Baron is still on the members of Vega.
It just feels like because Naul also had to go second item into Banshee Veil, respecting a lot of the CC potential, that unfortunately that kind of subs him out from this power window. Like, if Phong Vũ Buffalo want to have another go at this, you're basically looking at an Orianna to just rock people with a shockwave, but because second item defensive, it's going to take her that much longer before she's actually going to be a relevant party in these team fights. So this is going to be a very long stall game for the Buffaloes if they want to come back in this game.
And I know we kept highlighting the differences between the jungles, but you can look down out those inventories, and I don't need to tell you what the number is for you to know that AHaHaCiK is incredibly far ahead of his opponent. But if you care, it's about 3,000 gold ahead.
It's a lot. And now this is the setup. How can the collective wave clear of the Buffaloes stall out long enough for them to hopefully get a wombo combo miracle fight back? Or are Vega Squadron just going to see their moment, pull the trigger on the arrow, follow it up with the Vi, and end this and take us to game 5?
Seems like it's lights out, but certainly PVB will fight on. They're capable of winning this game, although it is a very tough ask given the deficit they're already in. Baron is thankfully wearing off, so that siege power will be dropping off before the next wave can crash.
We are in a bit of an ARAM right now.
I mean, PVB don't want to go anywhere else, because if they leave, I feel like they know they die.
Oh, it's fine for PVB to be in this situation. I feel like there's options that Vega Squadron could actually be playing multiple lanes, but Nomanz has seemed to decided that he is going to stack up with his team. I feel like Corki should actually be out in one of those side lanes, and they should be trying to split up PVB.
Yeah, I wonder how much longer they'll stay out here, because again, they've got gold to spend, I have to assume. Yes, they do. Not that much, but still something you might as well go and cash in. The next Drake's coming up in 13 seconds, although it is only cloud number 2. Yeah, very persistent to want to knock down this mid-tier 2. Maybe just waiting for the Drake spawn until they find their reset, thinking that PVB probably not going to challenge them for that.
They are slowly chipping away at it, so yeah, they're doing some damage, but I agree with you, PastryTime. They're basically just feeding in free gold to the Buffaloes right now, specifically on Naul Orianna.
Well, AHaHaCiK did go down to finish off that Drake. So it looks like Vega will be taking a reset pretty shortly, and with Baron back up in a minute 30, we want to get themselves out onto the map and setting up for that objective once again.
Which means that the ARAM mid lane doesn't hurt them as much as I feel like it did for kind of the last 2 minutes, slowing down some of the tempo for Vega. They want to make sure that they keep priority here, kind of mistime some of their backs to pick up vision. You can see the control wards now in Santos' inventory, and it's just going to be the Baron choke out.
Again, just go visit the lanes. TPs are almost coming back off cooldown as well. So Nomanz maybe feels a bit more comfortable pushing a side lane, given that he can join a fight nice and quickly. Vega just going to push the Meaning Waves mid and then go and get some vision there around the Baron. And seems like, again, a nice controlled position for them to play out. See if PVB have anything creative in the tank, because finding a fight is really tough, given the deficit they're still in.
My eyes are on Zeros right now in this 1v1. I was curious if he was able to make it good.
Not much of a 1v1, just has to disengage, force the flash and the ulti and the shuriken flip plus the shroud.
So there we go, there's the answer. I wanted Nomanz into a side lane. I thought that he would have the 1v1 advantage. Now Nomanz knows that he has the 1v1 advantage, burning the flash right there. And Vega, if they want to, can continue to kind of leverage these types of lane assignments to abuse proper positioning or better positioning over the Baron.
Yep, nice handoff there. Boss is like, okay, I'll go back down to the side lane now. Actually, Zeros is unknowingly about to get aggressed on by the Irelia, but Boss is going to miss that stun as Zeros drops the shroud. But he's the one that's going to apply pressure here while the rest of Vega go play around the Baron.
Yep, push the mid lane forward, walk into upper river. You're then going to start staggering your sweepers, clearing out all that vision. And I guess hitting the Baron even though it's warded.
Yep, Sanders is like, needs to go over. Oh, it's a little bit to the left. All right, he does find the ward. Nomanz also ready with the package. Yep, Meliodas going to dive in, but package out, unstoppable during that. As Naul, again, going to get ulti. That's rough. Goodbye, Orianna. Probably going to dive back in, but I don't know if PVB can win this. Nomanz are going to say, you absolutely cannot win this. And Vega going to grab every single kill. Only Zeros left because he was in the other lane.
And that's a free Baron if they want, but more importantly, they can actually just shove this wave into the mid lane. Zeros can't stand there.
It might be a discount Nexus instead. He's invisible, but not going to matter too much. Again, tries to find a kill, and AHaHaCiK dodges out. TP back in from the Corki. Nomanz decides to rejoin the fight. That's an ace. Away go to game 5. Froskurinn, Vega Squadron playing absolutely incredible across these last 2 games.
I don't know if they can end it though on this wave. They are trying to protect the cannon creep so that they can keep the tower fortification down.
They're going to make a go of it if nothing else. Vega, so much power, so much strength. And looks like they have enough to knock down the Nexus. The respawn's barely up in time as Vega Squadron going to have a scraping silver all the way to game 5.
And you can see the look on Gadget's face right there. Pulls out the headset. Woohoo! It's a long day. And you got one more to play. You've done your part. You figured out what's worked. You have the Tahm, Kench, and the Ashe. Let the rest of your team do the muscle work for you in the early game.
I just cannot overstate how like how ridiculous this situation is and how different these two teams look in wins versus losses. All 4 games, I'm fairly confident, have been under 30 minutes. All 4 games have felt not particularly close for the team that's won. So what on earth is going to happen in this game 5?
I mean, the big thing for me is just the mechanical missteps from PVB. That last Baron fight, BigKoro flashed over the wall to try to save an Orianna that was already dead. Orianna wasn't approaching on the same side as their team, just eats an arrow and instantaneously dies, burns his flash for like, these are mistakes that when you talk about the PVB, you're like, what is strong about them as an emerging region team? Well, mechanically, they're very sound. In this series, that is not the case right now. They are failing mechanics left, right, and center.
I feel flustered, but we have to catch our breath to break down how Vega Squadron tied up the series. Let's head back over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, PastryTime. Well, this went from a smashing in one direction to a smashing in the complete other direction. Series now tied at 2-2 with Vega putting up another win.
And a team rallying behind their jungler for a second game in a row now, showing what he can do. And AHaHaCiK opening up the champion pool, showing us some more of that diversity and having a great game.
We got the Vi. I'm the happiest person alive.
James loves Vi, so he's going to break down the entire rest of the game. I think that the other thing that really blows me away is that Hecarim ban is still up there. When you like the bot lane of Vega is their weak point. You know that. They just beat you with Tahm, Kench, Ashe. And Kench is a great pick into your play style. It's a great pick for surviving lane. And Hecarim had been losing for them yesterday. It's one of Boss's best champions, but he didn't win that much on it. Ban Tahm Kench.
Right.
That's why they took Rek'Sai, was so they could Ashe Kench again. Like, they telegraphed what their play was going to be, and Phong Vu just do nothing to react to the previous game and draft. They do 0 things.
Yeah, and this is what we saw yesterday with Rek'Sai. As whilst it is the strongest, standard early game jungler, there are still things in the meta that can shut it down, whether you want to go for something like a Vi, a Xin Zhao. Like, there are answers to it that are a little bit off. The other area, not to harp on it, but the Jace was so successful in game number 1. It shut down all of the early game pathing, guarantees the push. It feels like Zeros right now has like a point to prove that he is a very good Akali player because he just keeps going back to it. And I had to break it to him. It does not look all that successful at the moment.
No, not at all.
That was a lane that Boss teleported away from twice, came back to him, was 10 CS up. That should never happen in a competitive game of League of Legends when you're expending your resources to go back top.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in these games. It's partially draft and partially play. So, like, the draft phase, there's so many identifiable things they could be doing different, like, what their bans are, what their picks are. And then when you get into game as well, they're also starting to flub a lot of these plays that they were pulling off in games 1 and 2.
Right, a lot of those mechanics, as Frost pointed out, are just missing all of a sudden. But I don't want to take too much credit away from Vega and what they did well in this game again, off the back end of their jungler.
Yeah, and AHaHaCiK is literally the reason that they are still in this series, and they know that themselves. So they're like, dude, what are you feeling right now? And he says Vi. And they're like, great, yeah, lock that in. You're playing Vi, go off. Starts camping the bot lane to protect that bot side that we said is sometimes weak. They still lost this lane kind of hard. They were down 30 CS after all this attention that you see him just constantly throwing down there. But that's fine. He understands what he needs to do as a jungler to get his team off the ground.
And not only that, he went top lane level 2 to guarantee the flash. Just walked at Zeros until he had to burn the summoner. Zeros was still level 1. Then he goes, okay, boss, you're on the island now. I've given you the advantage. I'm helping out the side of the map that needs it. This is, once again, playing 2 areas and shoring up multiple weaknesses.
Level 2 gank top lane, 3 ganks pre-level 6 to the bot lane, one of those netting a kill. Didn't back until beyond 8.5 minutes. The dude had 55 CS and an assist. Full buys a warrior, comes back out onto the map now, level 6, looking for some more kills. Stellar play out of him. It's the way, that you want to see Vi played. Ultimately, she does need to get ahead a little bit so that she can keep using that ultimate to go in. But when Phong Vũ Buffalo continues to overreach as well, I think that's another thing we have to talk about, is that beyond the laning phase, beyond the jungle pathing, Phong Vu, yes, they make a couple moves to get a few advantages and maybe build a gold lead, but things are getting turned around even in the teamfight phase.
Yeah, I mean, this was a play that if you're playing Tahm Kench and Ashe well, you should be able to have the Ashe situated in front of the Tahm Kench. So if they use the Varus ult, Tahm Kench eats him and you run away. Not positioned correctly, but don't worry, the rest of the team's going to come in and save the day. They get the nice Vi ult and split the fight with the Irelia ult as well. So they basically take what should be a 5v3 and split it into a 1v2 and a 2v3 that they can win because they have more resources.
And when we talk about panic, this is what we're talking about. Flashing away with your team, even though you're Vi ulted. In this fight alone, watch Koro on the back end of the team fight, does the def. Shout out to EDG's 80 carry back then, teleports in place. Obviously not used to running that unsealed spellbook. And this is just those small, uncharacteristic errors that start to creep into your game when a team is coming at you hard. You expect it to be in the driver's seat. After game number 2, you were styling, you thought you were the better team. Well, now the tables have turned, and you can see the Phong Vũ Buffalo are not handling the pressure well.
I mean, there's so much, like you said, pressure just from being the hometown crowd. Like, you can probably feel the air in that arena if you're there right now. Like, it's just going to start dropping. The energy level of the crowd is dropping. Those loud cheers start turning into groans. And, like, that is pretty palpable when you're in a decent-sized stadium.
Well, there's now pressure on both sides, though, too, right? I mean, for Phong Vũ, they've now, they were in a position to win, walk away with this 3-0, and now they're fighting for their lives with 1 game left. On the side of Vega Squadron, you're in that situation down 2-0 in a series. You've got nothing to lose, so you throw it all out there. But you just clawed your way back into it. So now it's about staving off the pressure that might try to creep back in around the fact that you could actually win this series now.
But this is where the history behind the organizations come in. Phong Vũ, a team that has already been to Worlds, big expectation. They're expected to take the VCS to the next level. No one expected Vega to be here. Analysts were betting against them in their domestic region. They proved everyone wrong. They show up today. It looks a little bit ugly, but now they're on the journey to do that again. And I think that with the momentum coming into this game, it looks pretty hot.
All right, let's talk game 5 then. Let's talk do or die for both of these squads. Phong Vũ Buffalo has chosen blue side with selection. So they're going to stay on the same side they just lost on here. With that first pick, do we want to see the Jace? Is that the go-to?
They're taking Jace. They have to. I think they need early priority in the top lane. Bottom lane, especially if they're going to allow Tahm Kench to still be open, you have to be able to win and push in somewhere else.
Yeah, I like the Tahm Kench ban as well. And if he wants to play Hecarim into Jace, okay, you'll slam that early, I think. So I don't know why their draft turned away from Jace without any other people banning it or anything. He played into the Irelia game 1 and teleported away and kind of fell behind. There was some pressure top, but like that was fine because, you're still Jace and he continues to pressure after that point. So I think a lot of that's like, I think Phong Vũ should still win. I would still predict them to win the next game, but only if they do the right changes in draft because I feel like
you draft that again and you don't have that kind of confidence.
I feel like their drafts haven't been great recently, and the fact that their quality of play is kind of dropping from games 1 and game 2, you need to start fixing the draft problems. And I think if they do that, the quality of play hasn't dropped so much that they can't win.
See, on the flip side, when Phong Vũ Buffalo were playing in the group stage, they blew out Bombers in their first game. You could just see how much of the map they opened up through Meliodas. And then they continued to play that way. Then when we saw them drop games in the group stage, it was actually because Meliodas got shut down a little bit. Right now, AHaHaCiK looks like the better jungler in 3 out of 4 of these games. If you can continue to shut down that highway, if you can make them take long ways around the map, they're not going to do it. They're going to treat. They're going to try and get to an area first. They're going to try and take shortcuts. Their vision game isn't all that great at the moment. I think that if AHaHaCiK plays a similar game, like not even elevate, just to this level, that there's a very good chance that Vega Squadron take this one out.
Are you saying Vega's going to win? Because I'm still picking Phong Vũ.
You know what? To hell with it. Yeah, sure. Vega win this game. Absolutely.
I mean, I think there's a really interesting conversation, probably one that we don't have time for, around Meliodas and either how he individually steps up or how the team props him up, right? Because there is one discussion around maybe the matchup that you could secure Meliodas to have that control in the early game, or around securing, again, strong laners across the board so that they can move in and help him when AHaHaCiK is in a position to challenge.
They've never really felt like that kind of team where the team moves to him. So I think getting stronger laners so that they already have priority and then he can work with them is the right idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I've kind of been saying from the start, right? You need to open it up. You need to be able to take Naul with you because when they open up Naul and get him around the map, I'm just having flashback to the Zoe games, the bubbles flying through every piece of terrain and him flashing over walls. So if they go back to that playstyle, a lot more confidence. But I don't think people understand like how hard it is to change an 0-2 swing. It's been successfully done once today. To ask for it to be done a second time and for Phong Vũ to close this series out, I think is a very big ask.
All right, well, it didn't happen in a way rather that anyone expected, but we are going to 5 games in this series. This year's MSI skin, Conqueror Alistar, is available in client today. Alistar's bundle will be available until June 11th with a fancy loading screen border and the MSI 2019 Ward. 25% of revenue from Conqueror Alistar and his bundle will go towards the teams competing at MSI. So pick yours up to support your favorite teams.
I've been a black AP Alistar player nearly since season 1. This skin might take me off it. It is a very nice
skin. You're lucky though to have the black Alistar skin. For everybody else, it will be this one above all else. Although I don't know, Mukau's pretty good, but this one's pretty sweet. All right, it's time for game 5 as PVB and Vega Squadron have 1 game to secure their spot in the group.